Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on what time of day you guys are watching this. Welcome to virtual unit preview number 2 for Unit 2. I hope that your school years are starting off really well and that kids are doing awesome in math. Hopefully this preview will give you just a good overview of what we're going to be doing for the next 6 weeks, and hopefully will be a good tool for you. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so the main goal of the unit is really to solidify scholars' understanding of numbers to 20. So it's a lot of the same skills that we've been working on in Unit 1, but just spiraling them up to numbers to 20. And so that's still being able to read, write, and represent those numbers. They need to be able to count forwards and backwards. They need to be able to take numbers that are out of order and put them in order. And they also need to be able to compare numbers to 20, which when we get to misconceptions, you'll see kind of gets difficult with the concept of place value. You're doing one more, one less to 20. And then I put in bold, composing and decomposing numbers to 20. Really, you're looking at the tens and the ones to 20. Most of our real composing, decomposing in a variety of ways happens with numbers to 10 because you're laying the foundation for addition and subtraction to 10. But with composing and decomposing numbers to 20, really that's just looking at, okay, how many tens make up this number? How many ones make up this number? Why do I write the number 12 as a 1 and a 2? Because I have one group of 10, 2 extra ones in there. And so you're really laying that foundation there. So that's why I put that in bold, because you're not composing and decomposing in the same way that you would be composing and decomposing, say, for numbers to 10. So the artifact that I have up on my Unit 1 Blackboard, the artifact of kids composing and decomposing to 6, you're not doing it that rigorously with numbers to 20, but they still need to understand that numbers are built of tens and ones and other numbers, and then you can continue to push kids maybe that have a good understanding. Those are kind of push problems for them doing numbers to 20, but you want them to be really solid in it so that they're ready to add and subtract really fluently to 10. So for the scope and sequence, this is the same document we looked at together a little bit at Collaboration Day 1, and I kind of overviewed it in my Unit 1 virtual unit preview. Again, just start your planning here. This is a really great place to start. Kind of lets you see what will be happening next in first grade and then second grade. It shows you what TEKS we're really going to be focusing on for this unit and tells you how many days and the dates that will be in this unit. Again, you can find that document on Blackboard. It's the same place where we found the other ones. So for the aligned annotated model lessons, those can be found on Blackboard. But I did 2 lessons. One's aligned to K2H and one's aligned to K2F. Both of them are comparative. K2F is one more, one less, and then K2H shows comparative language. K2F example on there is just one more, one less to 10. And so it's an example of a lesson that you'll do at the very beginning of your unit. And then versus comparing numbers to 20, the K2H lesson is something that will happen a lot later in the unit. With K2H, I added like 6 extra practice pages of them seeing those sentence starters. Just know one of the most difficult things for them with those sentence starters is reading it from left to right. When they see a number that's bigger, if it says 2 is blank 13, they want to go, oh, 13 is more, and then they fill it in. You have to really emphasize, no, we read from left to right. So when I'm reading my sentence, I'm comparing 2 to 13 and having them read it that way, making sure that they're following that rule, because they want to be, a lot of them are able to say which one is more, but they're not able to fluently read it and fill it in from left to right. So there's a lot of examples of practice problems. You maybe only want to use 1 or 2 for the IP of that lesson, but then you can have extra for centers or extra for them to do in small group. That would be a good resource for you to use at your back table if you're seeing that kids aren't getting it. Pull them in the back and solve the problems with manipulatives first. Always got to start with that concrete and then have them move to drawing pictures, and then have them move to the more abstract of using a number line to compare those numbers. There's fluency drills attached for both of them. The fluency drill for K2F I will be posting as an artifact in my Unit 1, just because I wanted to show you an example of a fluency drill that I would use for students that are just because it's one that aligned to what our TWA's lowest TEQ was. So those are our annotated model lessons. I hope you find them useful. So in Unit 2, the majority of the misconceptions kids are going to have are going to revolve around comparison a lot of times. And a lot of these are actually ones that we covered when we did our kind of misconceptions work at Collaboration Day 1. So for a lot of strategies for these things, you guys can refer back to those charts. I put them up on my resources page with Collaboration Day materials. So you can refer to some of those strategies that we discussed as a kindergarten math team. And then also the writing planners, they did some of those as well. And I put their anchor charts up there as well. So you can use them as well as the ones we used. So students may compare and not understand place value, so they may think that 12 and 21 are the same number. A lot of times kids do confuse 12 and 20 because they both have the 2 in them, but they don't understand that where that 2 is indicates what the number or the value of that number. They may not understand that like I said, 8, they may think 8 is more than 12 because 8 is more than 1 and 2. And so they don't understand that 12 is actually 10 and 2 put together and not just 1 and 2 put together. They may not understand how to use their number line. So when they're moving from that concrete representational and then they're moving to that abstract of utilizing their number line as a resource, they may not understand that when they're getting, when their numbers are going forward, their numbers are getting bigger. I believe somebody had one resource, they said like little ice cream scoops, and every time they had a number they showed the scoops, and so you could really see on that ice cream scoop number line or one that you would use in math journals, kids would be able to see, oh, my numbers are growing. Any kind of number line that shows 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, having them see that, okay, as I'm counting forwards, my numbers are growing, I'm getting more every time I count. Those are great ones. They may not understand the symbols of greater than, less than, or equal to. And the reason I put this in here, this is not actually specifically a TEQ. It's also not actually something we specifically test in TWA or in CAs, but it is something that's tested on map tests. So a lot of times kids will have to use that greater than, less than, equal to symbols on the map test to compare numbers, and so they need to know how to use them at some point. So as you're teaching greater than, less than, and equal to, I think it's good just to refer back. You don't have to teach it as explicitly, but at least refer and tell them what those symbols mean, so that when they get to it on the map test, they're not just super confused. And so that's why I wanted to put that in there, so that you guys would be thinking about that as you're teaching, because it's something super simple that will help them be successful, something they'll need to know later on. It's a first grade skill. They use it in first grade, and so you might as well, spiral it in there as you go. Students may not understand what equal means, so just the vocabulary of more and less and equal may be confusing for them. And then also kind of like what we talked about, sometimes if you say draw a number that's 2 more than 7, kids may just fill that whole page up with circles because they're like, oh, more means, a greater amount. So they just draw and draw and draw. Or if you say draw a circle that's 2 less than 7, they may just put 2 on there. And so they may not understand that you're saying 1 or 2 more than a given amount. And so really, again, this is a foundational skill, a basis for addition and subtraction. And then if kids are really fluent with the number that's 1 more than 6, when they get to addition and they see 6 plus 1, they're going to have their 1s facts down really quickly, or their 2s facts down really quickly, because they're already fluent with knowing, okay, 2 more than 6 is 8. 1 more than 6 is 7. And so this is kind of a basis, but if they don't understand, like when I say 1 more, it means you're only adding 1 in there. It's going to be difficult for them. So again, some of those misconceptions, you can find those resources online on Blackboard. Feel free, if you have other resources, please email me. And I would love to post those so that people can use them and be able to really help their kids succeed. If you have something that you've worked with for years and you know is going to help them be successful, by all means, send it my way and I'd love to post it for you. So for the resources for Unit 2, some of the things I connected, I did several place value centers, some centers that revolve around composing and decomposing. Like I said, I always want to provide you guys with some kind of research that will help you kind of ground yourself in your practice. It was actually super hard to find an article on place value and that number sense in kindergarten. So the one I found for y'all is more specifically talking about one type of program that they utilize to build number sense in pre-K and kindergarten. But there's a really cool chart in there that shows how they kind of did like a visual hundreds chart, and so they talked about patterns with it, but that visual hundreds chart has like the rods for tens and then the ones, and then the kids would kind of talk about what they notice about the patterns and numbers and other things. So I thought that even if you don't read the whole article, just go look up that portion of it, because it was a really cool visual for kids that I think I'll be utilizing in my classroom. There are 2 Unit 2 assessments that I've uploaded. One is just kind of a general, it looks basically like the CA and a TWA, but then another is more of a constructed response for them to compose and decompose to 10. And so it's more of an open-ended one. Our goal for you guys is to offer a constructed response assessment versus some of the more traditional assessments. Because we have CAs, because we have TWAs happening so often, it feels redundant to just have an assessment that looks exactly the same as one of those. And so even though I have that Unit 2 assessment up there, just know going forward for Unit 3, Unit 4, Unit 5, and Unit 6, the goal is to create more of an assessment that would be open-ended and also align a little bit more to Q4, Q5 scholars, since that the CAs and TWAs really offer a baseline for those Q1, Q2, Q3 scholars. So just know that's coming in the future, but there is a constructed response one just to see how kids are ready for addition, subtraction, and composing numbers to 10. And then some of the printable manipulatives I gave for you, again, some base 10s, some subitizing flashcards, and then some tens frames that can all be used when introducing numbers to 20.